There's always a massive security presence around the White House, but that's even more so the case a day after a shootout right by a security checkpoint. Now, the police tape has been taken down. We're now getting a closer look at where all of this unfolded. You can actually see just how many police cars are posted up out here. And we're also now learning more about the man who Secret Service officials say shot at them. Rapid gunfire and sirens echoed near the White House after a shootout at a security checkpoint. Investigators say 21-year-old Nasire pulled a gun out of his bag and began shooting at agents. Officers returned fire. No officers were hurt, but Best was killed in the shootout. A bystander was also shot and is expected to survive. Court records reveal Secret Service agents were familiar with Best, who in the past had walked around the White House asking how to get through various entry posts. Former federal prosecutor John Fishwick says despite this, it's difficult to keep suspects like Best in check.
Restraining orders are good and they can help, but if somebody's determined to violate that restraining order and determined to, have a gun and start shooting, it's hard to stop that.
In June of last year, Best was involuntarily committed to receive mental health treatment for obstructing vehicle access to the White House. And just days later, he was arrested for attempting to enter a different checkpoint, an encounter during which agents said Best told them he was Jesus Christ and wanted to be arrested. That arrest resulted in a judge ordering Best to stay away from the White House.
These are kind of low-level criminal activity. They weren't felonies, so he could have been locked up for a lengthy period of time. But I'm sure they'll look at these red flags to see are there things that the Secret Service can do differently.
Fishwick says Saturday's shootout will likely have an impact on how prosecutors deal with suspects with similar histories as Best.
I think the prosecutors will look to, are there more serious charges that can be brought against folks like this? And there are stronger ways to keep them away from the White House.
At this point, it's not clear if the bystander who was shot was hit by gunfire from Best or from a Secret Service agent. At the White House, Christian Flores reporting.
In our nation's capital, where a gunman is dead tonight after opening fire on a Secret Service checkpoint just outside the White House. A bystander who was also wounded, said to be in critical condition at this hour. No Secret Service agents were hurt or wounded, though. The gunfire erupted just 1 block from the White House complex after law enforcement officials say a man identified now as 21-year-old Nasire Best pulled out a gun from his bag and began firing. Secret Service agents then returned fire, striking that young man. Tonight, sources say the suspect had a previous run-in with the Secret Service and was at one time committed to a psychiatric hospital. But they say police had never encountered the suspect behaving violently or wielding a weapon. Now they're trying to determine his motive.
Investigators are going to go take a look at his phone, computer, iPad, any other electronic devices he has, anything he may have written down. Did he have some manifesto? Was he trying to send a message? What was his purpose?
And the shooting, of course, triggered a rapid security response and a White House lockdown.
President Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart. No.
And this video from an ABC reporter capturing the chaos there on the North Lawn just as those bullets were erupting. Secret Service agents moving quickly there, ushering members of the press and administration officials into a secure area. President Trump was inside the White House at the time. That lockdown has since been lifted.
This morning, we're learning more about the man who opened fire Saturday on a Secret Service checkpoint near the White House. President Trump was in the building at the time. The suspect was killed. Officials say he had a history of arrests. The Trump administration is now calling this an assassination attempt and using it to boost its case for a new White House ballroom. Nicole Skanga reports.
Gunshots sent visitors scrambling.
Possible shooting at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest.
As journalists at the White House took cover,
Republican support on Capitol Hill is weakening.
Aaron Navarro ducked as he prepared for a report on the CBS Weekend News. Bullet holes and shattered glass along Pennsylvania Avenue mark where the shooting happened in a busy tourist area. Police say the gunman, 21-year-old Nasire Best, fired several shots towards the Secret Service booth with a revolver he pulled from his messenger bag before officers fired over a dozen gunshots back. Best was declared dead at a nearby hospital. Court records show Best previously blocked a White House entry lane last June. He was sent for a mental evaluation, but again tried to enter the property just 2 weeks later, telling agents he was, quote, Jesus Christ and wanted to be arrested. He was arrested and a judge ordered him to stay away from the White House. The latest shooting comes just weeks after a Texas man allegedly shot Secret Service officers near the Washington Monument, and a month after a California man allegedly shot at Secret Service at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. A male bystander was also struck near the security checkpoint behind me. He's in serious but stable condition. President Trump, who was actually at the White House at the time, has thanked the Secret Service for their, quote, swift and professional action. He's also suggested that the incident shows the need for the ballroom he's building to become what he calls, quote, the most safe and secure space of its kind ever built. Vlad?
All right, Nicole, thank you very much. Wejo, this is such a disturbing trend, obviously, coming off the wake of that horrific night at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for many of these reporters who we saw ducking on Saturday, this is the second time they had to do that in less than a month, and it is terrifying. But again, they got up, they did their jobs. But, you know, this is certainly something new that I know a lot of our colleagues are thinking about.
And that area of Pennsylvania Avenue where the checkpoints are, that's packed with tourists usually.
Oh, yeah, it is so packed. In fact, it's just one block from the White House. So if you want to go see the White House, you got to walk through that checkpoint.